Hey guys, you may not actually know this, but Japan has some of the scariest haunted houses in the entire world. And I don't just mean theme park rides, I mean legit scary haunted locations that are made into these attractions. See, there's this thing in Japan called Kimodameshi, and Kimodameshi is like a test of courage in Japan. And it's sort of a tradition for elementary school or junior high school students to do their own Kimodameshi to really test how brave they actually are. How Kimodameshi works is typically a group of students will go to a known scary place. This scary place could be a real haunted location, or an abandoned building, or a graveyard, or a creepy forest. And then the other students, and sometimes even the teachers, challenge the student to go into these scary places and bring back some sort of token that proves that they entered that scary place and they were brave enough. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is at night. Usually it's done during the witching hour, which here in Japan they call the hour of the ox. It's between 1 and 3 a.m. It's supposed to be the most creepy time of the day because that's when supernatural activity is at its highest. Nevertheless, students and even adults sometimes participate in Kimodameshi, and Japan's been doing this for 1,000 years. Now you may be thinking to yourself that this is actually kind of dangerous. Who sends their elementary school or junior high school student to walk around an abandoned building or a creepy forest or a graveyard at 2 a.m. alone? Well, you're right. It can be dangerous, and things have happened in the past. Now, in more recent years, before a Kimodameshi happens, especially in a classroom setting where the teacher is sort of involved, oftentimes teachers or staff will scout out the area first before they send the kids out there at night. But up until the late 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of free game. There's actually this crazy story about 2 junior high school students going to do their Kimodameshi at an abandoned onsen, which is like a bathhouse, and these 2 kids ended up going missing. Now, I don't know too much about this case. I don't know if they actually arrived. I don't know if they found like bodies or something. I don't know what happened to these people. But luckily, my friend Jake, allegedly, another YouTuber here in Okinawa, does. And he's releasing a video simultaneously with this one. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and head over to his channel because he does a really great job telling these things. And I think every week he talks about a true crime case from Japan, kind of like this one. There is some confusion as to how this started exactly, but one of the earliest known references of this was in the Heian period, which is literally like the year 1000. I guess there was a book written in that period where they talked about 3 brothers who dared each other to enter this house that they knew was haunted. And the only brother that was brave enough to actually enter this house was the one that ran their own martial arts school. He had the most bravery. And so during the hour of the ox, the witching hour between 1 and 3 a.m., he entered this house with his samurai sword, went to the back of it, and used the sword to cut off a chip of the wood from the back of the house just to prove that he went in there. Way later, around the 1600s, the more sort of modern rendition of what Kimodameshi is today actually came about through samurai warriors who would always dare each other to go into these haunted places after they shared all these scary stories about the place that they were about to enter. If you're the type of person that something like this sounds like fun to you, which is me, Japan actually has the craziest Kimodameshi setups that are meant to be like these attractions that people can enter, buy tickets for, and check them out. Some of these Kimodameshi attractions are actually built in real haunted locations. So they're not your average Disneyland haunted mansion that was just built to scare you. These things are all over Japan, and one of the most famous ones is Daiba Kaiki Gakko. This was made into an attraction, but over 40 years ago now, it was actually a school where a student committed suicide. And then after they committed suicide, all these accidents started happening, eventually leading to the principal of the school going missing. So after the school shut down, when the principal went missing and all these accidents started happening, they decided to make it an attraction. Because what else do you do with an abandoned school that has a history like this? Profit off it, of course. But there's some other ones too. Like, check this one out. This is the Labyrinth of Fear. The Labyrinth of Fear is actually one of the biggest haunted houses in all of Japan and quite possibly the world. Picture this. You're walking through a giant abandoned hospital and you're walking through it for 900 meters or for about 3,000 feet. It takes you nearly an hour to get through this thing. And throughout this hospital, it is dark, very dim lit, and there's all kinds of empty beds and scary staff running around, and it's just, there's dungeons, and it's complete with that smell, that hospital smell that nobody likes. And it's especially bad because this isn't just your current everyday hospital that's in your city. This is one that's been abandoned for the last 100 years or 50 years. I don't know how long. The entire building is made up by professional horror movie set prop designers, and there's professional horror movie actors. As you're walking through this place for nearly an hour, these actors will chase you down, scare you, pop out of all kinds of doorways, and just freak you out. Another cool one is very similar to an escape room. Now, I don't exactly know where the idea of escape rooms came from, but I wouldn't be surprised if it started in Japan. One of these things is like a mysterious murder mystery that you have to solve, but it's like a hide and go seek mission because there's a brutal criminal on the loose in the house with you. Now, it takes you about 60 minutes to figure out the puzzle, but as you're trying to solve it, you're being chased down by this criminal and you're trying to hide everywhere you can. Sounds like fun. And of course, Japan is home to a bunch of abandoned buildings and abandoned theme parks and all kinds of haunted dolls. For the most part though, usually when someone does a Kimodameshi, if it's a student or an adult, doesn't matter, they usually go to real world places at night. Places that are actually going to be scary, like graveyards and forests, and potentially actually be dangerous. It's really just anything that is meant to strike fear into the person. Usually it's a location, but it can potentially be a stunt. It's really fascinating to me though that Japan has these sort of traditions, things that may potentially put your child in danger. Although, like I said, it's gotten a whole lot safer these days, but it's still crazy. Could you imagine when you were in middle school or elementary school and the teacher and the rest of the kids just like, hey, here's an abandoned building that's about to collapse, or here's a scary forest. I want you, little Johnny, to go in there at 1 a.m. and bring me back a piece of bark from the back tree back there. And little Johnny's like, oh,
okay, is anyone coming with me?
And the teacher's like, no, what do you think this is? That's not entirely accurate. A lot of times Kimodameshi students are sent into the place in pairs, but that's besides the point. Nevertheless, if you're ever here in Japan and you want to test out your own bravery, check out some of the haunted houses they have all set up, and a quick Google search in whatever area you're staying in will show you all the most haunted places in the area that you're in. I've done a few other videos of some haunted places here in Okinawa, but if you have any haunted places that you would like me to cover anywhere in Japan, some sort of horror story or something, I love telling ghost stories, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much guys for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.